some things that I wish I knew when I was 20, when I was where you guys are at right now. Some things that I wish I would have known when I was 20. You know what? First and foremost, guys, the ideal of how I could have been great. I could have been great anything, at anything that I wanted to do. Looking back over it, I really could have been exceptional at so many different things. And the only reason that I wasn't is because, and this is what I didn't know then that I know now, that all I had to do was just put massive amounts of time and effort into whatever it is that I wanted to be good at. Like I see now, and I say it on videos all the time, that, I thought back then there was just some magic, there was some secret thing that other people had that I didn't. And if I just had that thing, then I could be good at what they were good at, whether that was sports, athletics, whatever, or sports, academics, anything. I just thought that people were just better than me or blessed with certain attributes that I didn't have, or born with those things that I didn't have. And I just didn't know that if I would have just put time and effort into it. I'm thinking about athletes and that I came up with, phenomenal athletes: Rich Rayford, David Buford, Tommy Evans, oh my God, Corey Pargo. These guys were just phenomenal type athletes. Corey Pargo was my size now when he was in the 6th grade. He went on to play football at Ohio State, and he was just phenomenal. And I can remember playing with him, practicing with him, saying, you know what, man, I will never be good like that guy. He's just, and when I look back on it, I absolutely could have been. But it would have took me practicing more. It would have took me studying more. It would have taken more than what I did, which was just come to practice and go home. I did my whole life practically, or my whole young adult life. I did what average people did. I just did what was required. I didn't do any more or any less. I did the bare minimum. And as a result of doing the bare minimum, I was never really great at anything. I was just like everybody else with practically everything in my life. And when I look back on it, man, if I just would have, like how I'm doing now with my content, right? Like, I got time I could go back to bed. I could do some other stuff, but no, I got a little bit of time before I go to work. So let me set this camera up and let me do a video to help you young men. A passion behind this, a passion behind learning how to do this better, learning how to do this right. That's the type of stuff that I needed back when I was 20. And it didn't have to be sports, right? It could have been anything. I loved music when I was coming up. Came up in the church with music and that, played the drums. Could have been great at that if I would have put time and effort into it. I love to draw. Shit, I didn't even think about that. I love to draw back when I was a kid. If I would have put time and effort into that, guys, there's just no telling. It's just no telling. So what I wish I would have known 20, 30 something years ago is that, yeah, I could have been I could have been exceptional. I have no question in my mind, knowing what I know now, that I could have been a millionaire at something. I don't know what it would have been, but I've worked a job my entire life in that, and that's just what I knew. But I could have been a CEO at a company. All of these good jobs that I've worked over my lifetime, I was just content to be a worker, just to be average. Like, I could have been great. I could have ran a company or been a plant manager, if that's what you wanted to do. Like, what I'm saying, man, is that anything I could have been great at anything. And the only thing that I didn't know then that I know now is that it just requires massive amounts of time and effort in order to be really good at something. And if I would have known that, instead of looking at everybody else thinking how great they are at it, and yeah, you got people that are naturally gifted at certain things. I think my friend Corey was naturally gifted at football, but that ain't everybody, right? That ain't everybody. Somebody got to like work, and somebody got to practice, and somebody got to perfect, what it is that they trying to do. They got to work to get good at it. And I just didn't know that back then. And that's why I stayed average at just about everything in life, because I didn't realize that in order to be great at it, in order to be good, in order to master a thing, it takes tremendous amounts of time and effort. I ain't talking a week, a month, I'm talking years to get to the point where you're really good at something. That's one thing I wish I knew 20, 30 some years ago. Another thing I think about young men is that what I wish I'd known 30 some years ago, especially about women in relationships. This is going to sound really, crash, but it is what it is. What I wish I would have known 30 years ago about women in relationships is simply this: that she is not yours. It's just your turn. It's just your turn. She's not yours. You may think she is, but it really is just your turn. Young man, I was one of those guys, and I think the way I was brought up in church had a lot to do with this. The ideal of having a wife and a family, and that's what I seen coming up. And then you get into church, and it's the fornication and the sin and all of that stuff. So because a lot of that, young man, I stayed in relationships. Been married a few times, and countless relationships. I've been around that game a lot, young man, and I bought in. I bought in very early. I bought into the fact that, you get you a woman, you create a family, and you do all of this type of stuff, and a lot of time and a lot of effort trying to be in one, then getting in one, trying to stay in one, then when they're over, holding the torch for years after, trying to get back with that. What I wish I known back then was that for all of the work and effort that I was trying to do to maintain, to stay with, to pursue these women, but it was so easy for them just to move the fuck on. They can do that easily because of the options that they have as women, and a lot of that has to do with that box between their legs. But this isn't about them. This is about me. They had the option to just immediately move on. Because I didn't have that option, because I was so, instead of building myself and instead of working on me, I was so busy working on them that I didn't have those same options, right? I just over pursued, thinking that, all of these, all they need is just a good man. And I stayed confused. I stayed confused because I didn't realize about, women are looking always to trade up. They're looking for the next, best thing. And they have those options. So, if they want to move on from you, it's relatively easy. I didn't realize that. So I stayed stuck in a perpetual state of pursuing relationships, then trying to stay in them, and then trying to get back once they were over. Again, you look up, and regardless of the effort and the time and the energy that you put into trying to make this thing work, man, they're gone. And not looking back, right? That I was in relationships with women, with taking care of children and that were not my own. From the woman's perspective, you think that would gander, a little bit of favor, because you're deciding to do this thing with children. You're taking care of some other man's children, and you would think that would again, gander you some type of favor or this, that, and the other. Nope. Nope. Because I can find another one to do the exact same thing. Wish I would have known back then that instead of putting so much time into them, thinking that I was the be all, the end all, I wish I would have known that it was just my turn. I'm not shitting on these women. I've had, I've been married 3 times, but in every marriage, my first wife, gave me my kids. My second wife, I've had organ transplants. She gave me a kidney. So I'm not shitting on these women. I'm just saying that what I understand and what I know now is that it is very easy for women to move past you, move right beyond you because of the options that they have. And as a man, I wish I would have known back then that I should have been creating those types of options for myself now, right? When I was in my 20s, instead of chasing and running after them, I should have been, building myself so that I can get to a point in life where when it comes to men, ain't nobody chasing your dick like you chasing coochie for them, but you know what they will chase? They will chase money, right? And if I would have been building that up, going back to my last point, if I would have been becoming great at a thing so that I could have the finances that they chase after, then maybe, I wouldn't have done all of that chasing, thinking that, I was the be all, the end all. Like I said, not realizing that it was just my turn for a time. And eventually there'll be another guy that'll have a little more than me, and it'll be his turn. And then there'll be another guy that'll have a little more than him, and then so what I wish I would have known 30-some years ago is that they're not mine. I did a lot of stuff, young man, because that's my woman. That is my wife. She's mine. And no, she wasn't mine. It was just my turn. Wish I would have known that, guys, back when I was in my 20s. Another thing I wish I would have known back in my 20s, guys, I wish I would have known that, having kids, I wish I would have known that having kids was more than just putting a roof over their head and making sure they got food in their stomach and shoes on their feet. That's how I came up. My father worked, a couple of jobs, and we never wanted for anything. I don't know what it's like, to have lights turned off at my house. I don't know what it's like to be hungry or to be cold or any of those things. I don't know what that's like because my dad, worked 2 jobs, 80-some hours a week from the time I was old enough to watch him walk out the door until, he was in his 60s. I watched him do that. When I had kids, I wanted to make sure, and to my credit, I did this. I made sure that, my kids never went without. My kids always had, those things. But looking back on it, it was so much more that I didn't know then that I know now goes into, having kids. Like I got phenomenal children, adult children. I got a almost 30-year-old son, and my daughter's a year behind him, and they are phenomenal kids. But what I know now is that I should have poured more into their future, right? I was so stuck on, making sure, again, like my father did, making sure that, they were taken care of. And I guess what I'm saying, man, is that that's so very basic. That was so very basic of me to, let me make sure you got clothes and shoes and heat and lights. And, that's basic, young man. But knowing what I know now, I should have went beyond that. Should have went way beyond that. When I look back on it, me and their mother, and I can't speak for her, I'm just including her. But when I look back on it, everything should have been geared towards setting them up for success in the future. Everything should, forget about us. Forget about us and our happiness and what we want. That should have been just to facilitate them and them having the right type of life and them having the right type of environment to grow and thrive. See, I had that backwards when I was in my 20s. I really did think it was about us and our kids came second. That, that's a lot of church stuff too, but what I know now is that every decision, whether it's where we live, where they go to school, who they hang around, all of that should have been scrutinized because it's about setting them up. Again, it's about going past shoes and clothes. And again, making sure I think about all the dumb shit that I bought back in the day because I had really good jobs. And when I look back on it, all that money should have been going to college or going towards, you know, them having some money to start a business or pursue something that they really want to do. In other words, just setting them up for success in the future. Now, that doesn't go to say they're not successful now. My children are doing great, but I think that if, as their father, if I would have done some things differently to really set them up, like I see other people do with their children, to really set them up, so when they got to where I was at that point, life wouldn't be so difficult for them, right? Like what I know now when it comes to kids is that it is about doing everything you can to set them up to be as successful, even more successful than you. Even more successful than you. That is, I had great jobs coming up. So because I had great jobs, it should have been about taking that money from those great jobs so that my son so my son and daughter, they don't have to have a good job if they don't want to. They can have their own business. See, it was about putting them in a better position than what I was in. And I made sure that they had clothes. I made sure that they were fed. Again, just like I came up, they never wanted for nothing. On a very basic level, my children were well taken care of. But, what I wish I would have known 20, 30 something years ago is that I should have sacrificed more. I should have gave more. I should have, I was selfish, very selfish about my wants and needs, not realizing that their wants and needs, even in a future sense, their wants and needs took priority over that. One of my biggest regrets, and me and their mom, we were young, we were really young, and oh my God, did we have our issues. And as a result of those issues, she ended up leaving the marriage. One of my biggest regrets is that, rather it was me fixing those issues, or rather it was us deciding to, for the sake of our children, to stay together, that I wish I could have stayed with them throughout their childhood. Because just from a statistical standpoint, children do better. They just do better with two parents in the house than one. So knowing what I know now, I would have, I would have sacrificed my happiness, my whatever, again, just to make sure that they were in a position to do better. So I wish I would have known back then that it was more. It was so much more than just, clothes, food, and shelter. Wish I would have known that back then, right? Another thing I wish I would have known back when I was in my 20s, I wish I would have known how unique and how special I am, right? And I don't say that, young man, as patting myself on the back. I just say that's a fact, that all of us are unique and special in our own right, right? What I understand and what I know now, young man, is that there is no one on this planet like me, right? I am the only me. I am the only over 50 guy that there is, right? That I am me. I am unique. There are things that set me apart and make me special and different. Not because I'm better than anybody, but just because I am. I'm unique. I am. The Bible talks about how, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to that because there's nobody in this world like you, nobody on this planet like you. And young man, because I had such low self esteem, such low self confidence, I didn't realize that. I was so busy trying to be like everybody else. I wanted to be like everybody else, and as a result of that, I missed out on a lot of things, again, that I could have been great at because I didn't recognize my own uniqueness. I didn't recognize my own potential, my own specialness. I didn't recognize any of that. And maybe if I would have recognized that early on, that would have caused me to make some different decisions, take some risk, be exceptional in my own right instead of trying to copy, other people's exceptionalness, wanting to be like other people, right? That, one thing that created when I was 20 was the ideal of seeking, you know, validation and approval from other people. Like if I would have known back then, like how special I was and how unique I was, then maybe I wouldn't have been in so many relationships. And, because again, all of that was trying to seek something from the outside that I easily could have gotten within myself. But I never saw myself as special or unique. I always saw myself as inadequate or lacking. And if I could just be like that guy over there, or if I could just do like this guy was doing, then, I would be okay. Not realizing and recognizing that, fuck, I was already okay. I was already okay. I was good. I was good from the start. I was good from the start because I was unique. I was unique. There's nobody in this fucking world like me. Nobody can talk like me, move like me. I missed out again because instead of fostering that within myself, I looked at myself as the problem and the flaw, and it was a matter of trying to be like other people. So if I would have known 20 years ago that I am unique and I'm special and I'm good already. I don't have to be like everybody else. I just need to build me from where I was. I was fine at that point. And if I just would have built myself to be a better version of me, a better version of me instead of trying to be like everybody else, man, no telling. I paid a hell of a price in my lifetime for doing that. That's why on some level I think I'm playing a lot of catch up now because of, again, not recognizing that within myself. So listen, guys, I can go on for days. I got to get out of here and I got to head to the gig, man. But I tell you guys this because, hindsight is a motherfucker. Hindsight is 2020. I can see so clear now that it ain't even funny. But the reality of it is, I'm against time now. Unless I'm tremendously lucky, I got 15, maybe 20 years to try to undo or unfuck, the majority of my life. And I want to tell you guys this so you don't make that same mistake. That when you get to where I'm at right now, you can be in a position where, life could be a whole lot different. Life can be a whole lot different. You're not dealing with what could have been. You made the right moves now. You chose the right moves for yourself now. So that, again, 30 years from now, you can be in a different spot in life. That's why I do this channel. That's why I tell you guys these stories, because, I don't know how to tell you guys how to make $1 million, but I could absolutely tell you how not to fuck up your life. I don't know how to tell you guys how to make $1 million, but I could absolutely tell you how not to fuck up your life, because, I've done that and I don't want that for you guys. So I tell you these stories so that you can start doing stuff now. You don't have to. I did it, so you don't have to. I wasted a good part of my life chasing box, chasing relationships, not recognizing the greatness of myself, not working on shit, just being average. I did that. So I can tell you now that you don't have to, that you can do something different in your life and make your life better, when you get to where I'm at now. So that's why I do all of this. And some of you will listen. Some of you will listen because it's not like we weren't told this type of stuff when we were coming up. So some of you will listen, but many of you will do exactly what we did back when people were trying to tell us. We would think that we know more. We will continue to do the same things. And then 30 some years from now, we'll be telling other people, this ain't it. This ain't it. And somebody was trying to tell me the same thing and I just didn't listen. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. So listen, guys, I got to wrap it up. I got to head in here. Listen, I'm going to go back to doing my lives on YouTube. I'll have a topic that I'll talk about for about 15 minutes or so. Then we'll chop it up with whatever questions or issues that you guys have. So that's going to be going on this Sunday, 11:30. I'm sorry, I don't have the date because I don't have my watch on me and I can't pull the calendar up on my phone. So we got that going on. Young man, also one-on-one coaching. You can check that out in the description below. First link. If you want some help dealing, with these things, if you don't know where to start, if you want to change and transform your life, but you don't know where to start, you got a great start in somebody who has been where you're at, and who knows how to avoid a lot of those pitfalls. So definitely tap in for that. School community is up and running. The link for that is in the description below. Got an awesome free ebook for you guys that'll get you started if you want change and transformation. So a lot of great resources, man, in that description. So definitely tap in with me. All right. So listen, as usual, I am the over 50 guy / the online dad. We'll be back with another one soon.